Are you having ongoing inflammation in your hands and your feet? Maybe it's in a specific joint. Maybe it's all over in your body. My name is Dr. Terranella, and in this video, we're going to go a little bit deeper on this topic of inflammation, look at the question, how does inflammation leave the body? We're going to look a little bit more at some of the triggers and the overall cascade of inflammatory events that are going to help us understand how inflammation leaves the body. So if you like this kind of information on nutrition, genetics, hormones, and you're expanding your health knowledge and understanding, click on that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get more videos like this one. Now for a quick disclaimer, the information in this video is for informational purposes only. It's not intended as a treatment for any health condition or as a substitute for seeing an actual doctor or medical professional. It should be used as an educational guide to deeper your understanding of your own health and treatment success. If medical attention is needed, don't delay in seeking that attention. So in this video, we're going to talk about how does inflammation leave the body. We're going to first look at the inflammatory process, how that's triggered, and then we'll transition into looking at the resolution of that inflammation. So acute inflammation, or the initiation of inflammation, is usually triggered by some kind of infection, and that triggering process usually happens via an interaction between pattern recognition receptors expressed on innate immune cells, so immune cells that are basically sitting in your tissues, kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, and an evolutionary conserved structure on pathogens known as pathogen-associated molecular patterns. So when those pathogen-associated molecular patterns bind to the receptor on the innate immune cell, that starts the cascade of inflammation in certain cytokines and chemical messengers are going to be initiated. Inflammation can also be initiated by damage-associated molecular patterns, and those are released in response to tissue damage. That could be from physical tissue damage like a cut or a chemical or burn. All these things are going to damage those tissues, and those damage-associated molecular patterns are going to bind to the innate immune cell, and the cascade of events is going to follow. Now, those will be two separate kind of events that transpire as a result of those molecules binding to the innate immune cells, but both are going to trigger some kind of inflammatory process. So you have all those signals going on in the body, in the tissues, locally or sometimes systemically, depending on how bad it is. Following that infection or damage, there's a cascade of immune-mediated events that follow, and they follow in a sequential pattern. The initial part is the acute part that we talked about, and the purpose is to sort of wall off and isolate that particular problem if it's a pathogen so it doesn't spread, and also to start to repair any damaged tissue that's there. And of course, if it is a pathogen, to remove that pathogen. During that phase, sometimes tissues can actually get damaged by the immune cells that are there to fight the pathogen or actually repair the tissue. Surrounding tissues can also sometimes get damaged. That process of repair/damage is typically kept in check by other molecules that are being produced as the cascade of events sort of progress. That process of keeping the damage in check is known as the resolution part of the inflammatory cascade. In this latter phase of the inflammatory process, there's increased production of molecules known as lypoxins, resolvins, protectants, and there's several others, and these all contribute to the resolution of the inflammatory process. Now, sometimes these molecules are not produced in enough abundance needed to actually resolve that damage. And this is thought to be behind chronic inflammatory processes or decreased healing or slowed recovery from surgeries or injuries or even infections. Another principle likely at play here is the overall volume of inflammatory molecules relative to the resolution molecules. So when immune cells are activated by the pams and dams, they produce these chemical messages that we refer to as cytokines and chemokines. But as we age, the amount of the cytokines and chemokines that are being produced actually goes up. This is thought to be from more cells in general producing inflammatory signals in a process known as senescence, which is common to see with aging. You have more cells in this senescent phase. They're sort of sending off signals that they're not healthy, which recruits more immune cells to the area. The problem with these cells is they're supposed to basically self-destruct, but they don't. So they're basically sending out these signals of increased inflammation. And then this may be part of what's kind of drowning out some of the signal for the resolution part of tissue injury. So when there's ongoing inflammation in the body, specific injury or an infection, it may be that the body isn't able to produce enough of these resolvin type molecules to overcome the inflammatory signal. Now, we don't know for sure, but that's certainly one of the leading theories. Having enough of these resolvin type molecules is what allows the inflammation to actually shut off and or leave the body. One key to supporting the resolution phase of the inflammatory process is having the right cell membrane configuration or cell membrane structure. Cell membranes are made out of fatty acids, and the resolution type molecules, the resolvins and protectants, are made out of essential fatty acids, specifically omega-3s. This is likely one of the reasons why omega-3s are so important for so many different health conditions. So hopefully that should give you a better understanding of this question, how does inflammation leave the body? If you're asking that question, you probably have some inflammation going on in your body, and I hope that it helped give you a better understanding of how to resolve that inflammation. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm happy to answer your question. We'll see you next time.